Well, it finally happened. We got goats. Here's Davis and our two new family members on their very first day. Don't worry that Davis isn't buckled. We're just going down a long driveway right now. Davis is in the back seat of my wife's Subaru listening to our new friends sing. On the day we were supposed to pick the goats up, they were calling for rain, so we put the goats in some dog crates we borrowed from our friends and in the back of the car so they wouldn't get wet. Our new goats are a pair of twins that we got from a friend of a friend who have too many creatures running around. You can see here, we let them out of the car, and Davis is having a lot of fun trying them out on their new leashes. Davis is really excited about having some new pets, and he went right to work grooming them. With new goats comes the need for a goat fence, and I built one out of 16-foot long cattle panels and T-posts. I also used these dog connectors to connect the cattle panels temporarily while I assembled everything. Of course, the big storm that was predicted on the day we picked our goats up knocked a tree over and damaged the fence, so before they even got home, I had to repair their new enclosure. They took to it pretty quickly, and you can see here they're already starting to eat poison ivy, which is going to be their main job other than just being pets. You can kind of see in the background I have two sets of fences. I have an outer fence and then an inner fence that's around a little goat house. This is more because we were worried about them and didn't want predators to get them since they're brand new. We eventually got rid of the inner fence once they got a little bit bigger. Here's Kirby and Waddle Dee with their first meal. I definitely need to get them some extra bowls. And here you can see that they're inside the inner fence next to their goat house, which of course made out of pallets. Growing up, we always had goats, and my brother still has several at his house, so I'm not unfamiliar with their care, but I still did my research and bought several books so that I'm ready to take care of them the right way. Our 4-year-old Davis got to name them, and he named them Kirby and Waddle Dee after characters in his favorite video game. You can see here they're starting to get comfortable with their new surroundings and already starting to play. Their permanent fenced-in enclosure is 64 feet by 64 feet, which should give them plenty of room to run around. After they got settled in, Davis and I went down to the hardware store to get some extra supplies. I needed some extra bowls and a trash can to store their food, which of course Davis decided to play with. Davis loves to chase Kirby and Waddle Dee around, and despite what it looks like, they're not afraid of him at all. Goats are naturally playful, and they love to interact with people. Hi. Having these guys is going to be a great experience for Davis, and it's also going to be really good for him to learn how to take care of the animals. After several months of owning the goats, Davis will ultimately learn how to feed and water them all on his own, and when he gets a little bit bigger, it's going to be part of his regular chore set. The cattle panels I use to make the inner fence aren't permanently set, they're just clipped together, and this is pretty convenient because I can reassemble them anywhere I want to make a small grazing area for the goats. I can concentrate their eating efforts on top of a patch where I really want to remove the poison ivy. A couple of weeks after getting Kirby and Waddle Dee, we got our third goat, Rocket Shippy. You can see he's pretty comfortable with them already. The plan is to get about 4 goats and make sure they're all about the same age so they really coalesce as a herd. The very first thing Rocket Shippy did when we brought him home is escape from the fence. It turns out he was just small enough to fit between the wires, so you can see here he's wearing a harness with a stick through it to keep him in. It was pretty funny because when he ran off, we had to chase him around with a 4-wheeler, and ultimately I caught him with a lasso. I had purchased one to help catch the goats, and this was my first successful attempt. You can see I've moved the temporary fence to where Davis's playground is located, and they're doing a great job starting to clear the underbrush already. It's shocking how just 3 of these animals can clear, but when I get all 4 of them, they're going to be an unstoppable force. Speaking of 4 goats, here's Oliver Spinach, our 4th and final goat, on the day that we picked him up, coming home in a dog crate just like everybody else. Here's Oliver meeting his new friends, and of course wearing the stick of shame tucked into his harness so he doesn't escape until he grows a little bit bigger. The goats are pretty social, and they like hanging out with Davis, despite sometimes rough play from him. Here's Davis going up and down the slide while they just hang out in the playground. Here's the new herd getting a snack, but of course, Rocket Shippy has learned where we keep the food store and loves to escape and try to stick his nose in the trash can. Rocket Shippy seems to be able to consistently escape the goat pen, despite being big enough not to need the stick anymore. It doesn't really matter, though, because he always stays around his brothers and doesn't go off too far. We bought Davis a goat brush, and both he and the goats really like the process. It's pretty cute to watch them interact and bond. Now that we've got all 4 goats and they're settled into the new pen, the next step is to make some goat playground equipment, which will be a fun next project.